Hello and welcome to another episode of Miss Chris's Knits. I'm Miss Chris and I will be knitting today for once. For the last, I don't know, month or two, I've been only crocheting during my videos. So am I a knitting channel and am I a crocheting channel? Who knows? And I've also been telling you mythology, like stories about myths and Japanese myths and things like that. But my viewership, my views per episode have gone way down, like a ridiculous amount. So, but my amount of, I don't know. So, I don't know. Do I want to keep up with the telling you guys myths, or do I want to keep telling you stories from my life? What it's like to live here in Japan? Do I want to explain what's going on in my kitchen? Like, what do you guys want? I don't know. So today I'm going to tell you a story of something that happened in my life because I had a cultural experience and it was really good. And I will tell you about it right after this. All right, so the way I usually structure these things is that I introduce you to the project that I'm working on and then I tell you a story. This time we're going to be telling a story about my life here in Japan and what it's like to be here on Remembrance Day. But first, we're going to start with the project. This is a project that I've been working on for a really long time. I really wanted a knit patchwork quilt. I don't know why. I decided that that was something that I wanted, but it is something that I want. So I started off by making these little tiny pieces of knitting. It's in garter stitch and it's using a self-changing yarn, like a color changing yarn. So I started off making these little things. And then I learned a new technique that allows you to do multiple colors on the same cord, and then you don't have to put them together. So I am knitting in the English style, which means I'm throwing, which if you've never done before, you have a loop. How well can you see that? You have a loop from the back here. You have a loop on your thing. You go in and under, and then you take this extra yarn and you throw it around. Pull it through, push it up, pull it off. Now, that's just a very basic thing. You can find a lot of videos that teach you how to do English knitting style. It's very simple. And since I'm doing garter stitch, it's also extremely simple. It's just the same movement repeated over and over and over again. So that's what I will be doing while I tell you a story. And that's why my hand is going like that all the time. I use a webcam to take these videos, so I don't really have a way to close up. I'm just basically figuring out lighting and where to sit in the frame, which is weird because I've been doing this for almost a year. So I've reached the end of my color. The color I was working on is blue, and as you can see, we are transitioning to yellow. So what you do is you take your yellow, pull him to the front, right? He's in the front now. Circle him under the blue, and the blue goes over here somewhere. Bye. And then you've made this like kind of loop. You take the blue to the other side and you continue on with your new color. And so that's not something I knew when I first started this blanket. So I was doing it square by square by square by square. And each square takes about 45 minutes, honestly, from cast on to cast off. But these ones you can
if you get into a rhythm, you can really, just go on them because it's a more continuous thing. Yeah, so story time. Story time. Today, I will talk about what I did for August 6th, which is the bombing of Hiroshima Day. So, last night, or the night before the Remembrance Day of the bombing, I had a friend stay over, and she helped me organize some things in my house, and we hung out, we had a good time. And then she's just recently moved to Hiroshima. So I was like, let's go to the paper lantern, part of the Remembrance Day. She was like, what's that? And I'm like, we go to the river and everybody lights these paper lanterns with a little tea light in them. And you write your wish on them and then you set them in the river and they just float around like peacefully and tranquilly. I'm going to change colors again. Bring my green from the back to the front, around and under the yellow. Yellow goes off to the side somewhere, and then you continue on with your new color. So yeah, Remembrance Day, I decided to take her to the Paper Lantern Festival. And she was like, let's go get a beer. And so we got a beer, and we went. We sat down by the river, and we sat under a tree, and it was evening, and the paper lanterns were floating past. Some of them were lit, some of them were not lit. Some of them caught on fire, which was wicked. But there were people on the river to put them out, so they didn't catch the whole thing on fire, which was a little sad. Because we're both like, fire! No, but we spent the time talking about family and life and just how we live. And she's traveling alone coming up pretty soon, and she's worried about it. She's like, I've never traveled to a foreign country by myself. And I'm like, you came to Japan to live by yourself, never having come here, not speaking the language, not being able to read or write the language, and you were fine. What do you think is going to happen to you in another country that's different from what happens to you here? You won't go to work. That's it. That's the only real difference. So it's not a big deal. I was telling her it's not a big deal. All right. So we've reached the end of this piece. So we flip it this way so that we can start again on the other side. But then we also flip it so that all the yarn is on the back side because it needs to be on the back side. So in order to do that, I do this. I just flip the whole piece over on the needles so that all the yarn is on the back side. And then I start again. It's way easier than just trying to organize everything. But as you can see, everything is starting to become tangled. It's very annoying how tangled it gets. And this yarn is not forgiving when it comes to tangles. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So we sat under the tree and we watched the paper lanterns go by. And it was beautiful and it was peaceful. And it definitely made us think about peace and war and how life should be like this. Life should be like sitting along the river, chatting with a friend over a beer. Life should be, beautiful and tranquil and calm. And that's not what life is, but that's how life should be. And then she was real tired, so she went home to her apartment, and I stayed out. And I was like, oh, there's going to be a lot of people out because there are 1,000 people out at the Paper Lantern Festival. Like, we had to go pretty far to find some place to sit down and watch. So I was like, there's going to be people out. So I went out and I met up with a friend who I haven't really seen for a while. And And it was good. And we just drank and we talked and we had a good time. We went to another bar. We had a drink. We talked. And it was just, that's what life should be. Just hanging out with friends, being chill, having a good time. We're not on the back where I want you to be. Okay. So now I have to take the yellow and untangle it. Bring it to the front again. Wrap it round this color. Throw that color over here, out of the way. And then start with my new color. It's all very complicated and annoying. I almost, yeah. I can't do that many rows of this before I get upset and cranky. And I'm like, why am I doing this? But it's a lot faster to put together a patchwork quilt if you're working on 4 patches that are already connected to each other at once, instead of having to sew every single patch on. So yeah, I stayed out drinking till like 4 o'clock in the morning. And that was it. Just a day filled with friends and chats and talking to people and just being real chill. Even though it was a really serious topic day, you know, the day that the bomb was dropped. It's a real serious thing. But that's the whole point of the Peace Park, is to bring peace, to foster peace. And this ceremony really fostered peace. And the fact that I went out drinking afterwards didn't foster peace. But this ceremony really fostered peace, and it was just really nice. And also, you can drink outside in Japan, and that's okay. And that's not true in the United States, which is rude. Throw it over there. Old color goes over there. So here we go. I think that's called like something knitting. I don't know. I feel like everybody else's knitting channels are so much better than mine because they have like proper lighting and you can see what they're doing, and they have like proper zoom and everything. So I just knit or crochet. I don't really show you guys what I'm doing, which I could do more of, honestly. I've done more of it this episode than I usually do. I usually don't explain. I just do. And that's fine. So let me know down below. Would you prefer a mythology, or would you prefer a story from the life of a person living in Japan? Or would you prefer more yarn content? Do you want to learn how to do this stuff? There's 1,000 channels where you can learn how to do knitting and crocheting. I know, because I've watched them. All of them. So I thought, just having a channel where somebody just is really just vlogging about their life or their interests while also doing a knitting project was a little bit interesting. It's kind of like a thing. So let me know. What do you guys think? Do you prefer the mythology format? Do you prefer talking about life in Japan? Do you prefer talking about knitting? So I have like 300 followers now, and you guys watch pretty regularly. So please let me know. What is it that attracts you? What is it that you guys want to see? Do you want to see my hands moving a lot like this? Like, what is it that you guys want? Stories about life, love in Japan? Do you want mythology? Do you want more knitting content? Those are your 3 options. I can go to other mythologies, or I can talk about monsters or demons or something like that, because that's really fun. But I need you to tell me, what do you want to see? And don't tell me you want to see me take off my shirt. I see you over there, you gentlemen. Not gentlemen. I will block you. Anyway, so let me know what you guys want. What do you want? I'll give it to you. Okay? I'll talk to you guys later. It was really nice sitting down and actually working on a knitting project with you guys. I didn't get very far. I got 2 rows, but this project is a slower project. It's a project that you work on every once in a while because it can be stressful and tiring, and there are so many things to keep track of, like where all your balls of yarn are. Oh my god, why are there so many balls of yarn? Ah, it's horrid. But it's a really useful technique to learn because then you can create all kinds of interesting knitted projects. And I'm just doing garter stitch, so everything is real simple. And I'm nearly done with this row, and then I'm going to change colors so that there is another color on top, like that. And then I'll just keep going for a little while till I've made a corner of the blanket, and then I'll connect it to the other corners of the blanket. That's a plan anyway. So we'll see how it goes. I'll let you guys know when it's done, which will be never. Have a good day. I'll see you again.